last night of the man accused of killing Laken Riley.
Do you regret using the word illegal to describe immigrants last night, sir?
Well, I don't regret it. Technically not supposed to be here.
The president's prepared State of the Union remarks last night, more than 6,400 words, didn't even mention Laken Riley, the 22-year-old University of Georgia student murdered by an illegal immigrant. The exchange only occurring after being heckled by Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Republican from Georgia.
Laken Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right.
So why is the president having to defend himself for saying just that? Come on in. I'm Blake Berman. This is The Hill on News Nation. Oh, it is a Friday, and do we need it in the political world? Here we go, and here we are, hanging out with us today. Ashley Davis, former George W. Bush White House official. Scott Bolden, News Nation contributor, former D.C. Democratic Party chairman. Lauren Wright, Princeton University political scientist. And Johanna Maska, News Nation contributor and former Obama official. Hello to you all. It has been a wild week in politics. We all were hanging out last night for the State of the Union address.
We're tired, maybe a little.
Yeah, but it's a Friday. We're energized. Got some energy.
We've got energy.
So the president said that last night, and he's getting a lot of grief from within his own party. Here's Joaquin Castro, for example, Democrat from Texas. The rhetoric President Biden used tonight was dangerously close to language from Donald Trump that puts a target on the backs of Latinos everywhere. Democrats shouldn't be taking our cues from MAGA extremism. Is it MAGA extremism for calling the man who murdered Laken Riley an illegal immigrant?
So he is illegal. Look, if you're a person of humanity, you believe that people themselves are not illegal. He did an illegal act. So there is a defense there. But I do hear from my own...
Illegal across the border, though, the way he did.
He is a human being, right? These people are human beings. No doubt about it. But here's the problem with this rhetoric. Very few people who are illegal, who cross the border, are going to kill someone. They are human beings. And so when we call them illegals, instead of calling them undocumented immigrants, we are dehumanizing them. And I think there is a point.
Mm-hmm. To Biden's defense, though, he was talking about this individual that killed her. So I don't think that we need to give him anything more than what he is, which is murder.
Being way too hard on Biden. I can't believe I'm saying that to Johanna, but
we're sticking up for him.
He knew her name. He reiterated the point. She was killed by an illegal immigrant, and this is what I don't quite understand about progressives.
But they're taking exception saying
the
illegal.
President. Yes, but he is so much closer to their ideal point on preferred immigration policy than Trump, the alternative. And so why attack the person that's trying to enact the policies that you prefer?
I got 3 people defending Biden. I have nothing further to do.
Is that what you do as a lawyer? So Democrats were asked about this today. Obviously, you see Joaquin Castro. He's not thrilled with what the president said. Nancy Pelosi, by the way, tried to walk it back for President Biden. Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi's successor in the House, was asked about it today, and this is how he responded.
Joe Biden delivered an incredible speech that was very well received by the American people, beginning, middle, and end.
Again, a hedge. He didn't take this on directly, Ashley.
Well, no, I mean, I say as a Republican, he did not talk about immigration, which is the #1 issue for the election this year. Until
now, at this point in time, it was economy, and then it became this.
Okay, whatever. It's back and forth, but it is right now. 45 minutes into his speech, and I actually think this is the president's problem, is because he has to go to his extreme left because of all these other issues. But he was right, and I am sticking up for him.
He's got a balance. Each party has got to balance people on the far left or right, the middle, right? And so I just think criticizing him for using that term is a political talking point, but it skews the overall power of his message. I understand that...
But it's a talking point from your party, right?
It is,
within your party.
But he went off script And he really did respond to the MAGA right with the representative. But if that's the worst criticism is that he used the term illegals when he was off script, then I got to tell you, I'm not giving him a pass per se because of the left, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over it because he's struggling with how to fix the border with the GOP that is struggling to not give him a win while the rest of the America suffers because of the illegal immigration issue.
My circles are saying it shows...
I'm sorry, just real quick. The problem is, though, is that the Democrats are criticizing him, not the Republicans.
Right. The Democrats are. And my circles are saying it shows that he's, in his 80s. And I would say to that, I guess point. Rupert Murdoch decided to get married today at 92. Right. And so I think maybe 82 is like the new 40.
I keep saying the new 50 is the new 40. I don't have a problem giving him a pass on that. Okay. I don't.
All right. Then there's the other side of the aisle, by the way, and the other side of the presidential race, the Republican Party, solidifying now behind Donald Trump after Ronna McDaniel resigned as the chairwoman. Today, the Republican National Committee voted in new leaders, candidates that Trump endorsed. The new co-chair of the committee, by the way, Laura Trump, the former president's daughter-in-law. All right, so he's got the daughter-in-law, not running the RNC, but basically the number 2. Any worries?
Well, first of all, I think it is a unique situation that a daughter-in-law became number 2. However, this is normal. I mean, at least on the Republican side, and I'm assuming on the Democrat side, your people come in and take over the party once you win the nomination. And so I don't think that this is. Again, it's different because it's a sister-in-law or daughter-in-law, whatever she is.
Right.
But I mean, I actually don't think it's a big deal. I mean,
I think Reagan was an official. Reagan, during the Reagan years, I think he had a daughter that was part of the RNC or part of the RNC leadership. As a former state party chair for the Democrats, there's no issue with this other than the fact it's got to work, if you will. And you've got to have the same goals and objectives. And the other thing is this, if they're trying to expand their party, when I look at that picture, not a lot of diversity up there.
Yeah, Bill Brock was the head of the party under Reagan, and I think that Reagan,
that's true.
I think she was like number 5 down. But I mean, I do agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I would take issue with what Scott said, is because, nepotism is not a good look in government. Agreed. I'm sorry. Yeah. You don't need to have your family.
But that's not government.
It's a party.
It's a political
You're trying to represent people in government, and you're putting nepotism.
It's a really difficult look. It does provide a talking point for Democrats. It further makes the case that Trumpism is ubiquitous in the Republican Party, and the case for that is very strong. I do think that as the party's nominee, or almost so, Trump does have the right to have leadership that he wants. He handpicked Ronna McDaniel before he got mad at her, and this is what happens, but nepotism is never a good look.
Ronna, I just want to say something. Ronna, everyone needs to remember, is Romney's...
Yes.
There was
Romney
before.
Romney
yeah, she's a Romney.
I'm not saying that Romney was president, but I mean, it's...
I hate nepotism in politics, though. It's rampant in California, and I just think it's dirty.
So, by the way, our Libby Dean, who follows the Trump campaign for us day in and day out, was talking to, if you could show the video, pop the video up again real quick, Chris LaCivita, who is in the middle there, I believe. But anyways, she asked him today about whether or not the Trump campaign is going to pay any of Donald Trump's legal bills, and he responded, quote, bleep no. He's not in there. Obviously, it wasn't a bleep. You get the idea. And then he said, no, but that is one of the issues.
Can I make another point about how this harms Trump? Because I've done a lot of research on surrogates and family members and their impact in administrations. When you install a family member and that person becomes part of the party apparatus, part of the government, it's more difficult for them to make the case that I know this person personally. I'm not part of the political establishment. And so they lose their outsider status. She was formerly a very effective campaigner for him, and now people will think it's just Republican, it's the machine, it's whatever.
I think with Joanna, you brought me closer to your position, because she's there to be Donald Trump's eyes, ears, and mind on the operation. And if they're not going to be paying his legal fees, we ought to be monitoring that, because he needs help with his legal fees. And without her there, they were paying his legal fees.
By the way, now both of these
no money.
Both of these two now, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, are clearly squarely in election mode. Travel in the next week. President Biden going to New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia. He's in Pennsylvania right now. goes to Georgia tomorrow. He, along with President Biden, in the state of Georgia tomorrow. Do we have the live picture right now of Joe Biden, by the way? Do we have that or no? Yeah, let's show it. So President Biden right there out on the campaign trail. This is what happens. You do the State of the Union. Then you go hit the road and you try to give your message. The president in Pennsylvania, the swing state that he has campaigned in the most, of course, it is a state that is near and dear to him, but a state that he needs to have once again to win the election. President Biden out on the road. We, of course, were all here last night watching the State of the Union address, and I thought one of the more fascinating moments was when we had this watch party in the state of Michigan, crucial to both Trump and Biden. And we asked the panel there, or the group there, it was mainly Democrats. Hi, they waved to us. Some independents as well. Does what you heard from the president last night, change your view of him in any way? And basically all of them raised their hands, and we spoke to one voter shortly after. Watch.
Oh, it was the delay. I think tonight was the night that Joe Biden had to show the entire country that he still can do the job, and there is a clear distinction between what he stands for and the future of this country and what Donald Trump stands for.
Thought that was pretty revealing.
Yeah. Okay,
go.
Let's talk about it.
Sure.
How many of those people were Democrats and how many were independents and how many were Republicans?
So as I mentioned, it was mainly Democrats. Okay. It was 30 Democrats, 1 independent, 2 Republicans-ish, described to me.
Okay, that is like how we poll these days. This is not like real in regards to like what's happening. And by the way, I mean, Trump's up +8, +9 in Michigan.
Right. But, I mean, to be fair, that's the Democrat.
Getting a raise, by the way, because they said last night that the teachers were getting a raise.
That's the Democratic base.
Yeah, but the angle of the story and the coverage wasn't Democrat, Republican, Independents. It was focused on Democrats and Independents. And what you saw there, and why that's so important, is because some Democratic groups under our big tent have gotten amnesia about why they're Democrats or why Joe Biden and Harris are good for this country, whether you agree with it or not. And he's got some work to do. And I'm going to tell you, this is State of the Union month. This isn't a State of the Union evening, because he's going to, that map you just brought up that showed all the stops he's going to make, we ought to run a loop. He ought to run a loop on that for the next 30, 60 days, forever, because you cannot win if you're leaking some groups from your base, and you've got to shore that up and then go get the independents and the Nikki Haley voters, if you will.
Last word.
This is what happens is Democratic voters, as they see more of Biden and more of Harris, will come into the fold and they'll get excited. And so this was an event they got excited about their candidate about. The more we get closer to the election, the more this.
By the way, we started off the show talking about Laken Riley and President Biden's response, what he said about her last night. Laken Riley's mother has now taken to social media saying, quote, "Biden does not even know my child's name. It's pathetic. If you're going to say her name, even when forced to do so, at least say the right name." An awful situation, as you can only imagine, being the parents there. But that is their reaction to what happened last night. All right, coming up. Out of all the back and forth that we saw last night inside the House chamber, there was also this moment. There was one charge levied by Capitol Police.
Went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then.
That was a father wanting his voice heard after his son was killed overseas. And now, Capitol Police have charged him with a misdemeanor. Is that right? And should the president do something about it? Plus, a measles outbreak in the state of Florida. The top official criticized for his response, what he's doing and why he's doing it, what he is saying. We will talk to him when The Hill on NewsNation returns.
The year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then, through my American Rescue Plan.
All right, welcome back here to The Hill on NewsNation. That was Gold Star father last night, Steve Nakui, arrested after that protest during President Biden's State of the Union address. You might have been able to hear him there. He was yelling, "Remember Abbey Gate." That, of course, is a reference to the deadly bombing that occurred during the withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. It left 13 U.S. service members dead, and 100 Afghan civilians as well were killed. Among those killed, Nakui's son, Kareem, a Marine Lance Corporal from California. His son was just 20 years old. So why was his father yelling at the State of the Union? The Republican congressman from Florida, Brian Mast, brought Nakui as his guest. Mast says Nakui was protesting because his son was killed, quote, due to Biden's incompetence. That from Brian Mast. Obviously emotional. He lost his son, just 20 years old. He felt that was the time and the place to do it and to voice his opinion in the presence of the President of the United States, State of the Union address. Now he's facing a potential misdemeanor charge. $500 up to 90 days in prison because of that. Is a couple things here. One, is that the right response? And then two, because this is in the Capitol, federal, should the president do something about it? He could step in and pardon him in theory.
Well, it's the wrong place and right fight, but the wrong place. And it's not up to Biden whether he gets arrested or charged or not. It's up to the Capitol Police as well as the U.S. Attorney. You know, in the D.C., the U.S. Attorney prosecutes local and federal crimes. Normally what they do is you pay a $50 fine, you still have it on your arrest record, and you get time served or you're let go. In this particular case, D.C. Superior Court, the rules, you can get your arrest record and be in a charging document suppressed or even eliminated after a certain period of time. And so for his First Amendment, a $50 fine, and he can get his record sealed, I don't think there's anything for Biden to do because it's not Biden's decision on this.
All that aside, Scott, this is a family that's hurting, and we are seeing so many families that are hurting. And what I hate is when any politician doesn't, lift up the voice, but rather uses that voice to continue this anger. And Ashley, I think a lot about the Iraq War and all of the division there was. I mean, when President Bush was the president, and we had Democrats who were bringing the parents of those children who had been dying to yell at the president. I don't know that that's the right move.
Well, for who? Biden or the families?
No, but I think that it's their only call for help. I mean,
it is.
All of us, have kids, and it's like, what else do you do? And I don't know. I don't even.
You don't know
I don't
that he's
even
going to yell? He probably
No, I'm not saying it's right
but Joanna,
or wrong to yell. It's like if you're that desperate because you lost a child, what else do you do? And
I agree.
But Joanna, what are you recommending?
He's probably fazed by going to jail. I mean, he lost his son.
That's the most.
He probably knew exactly what would happen.
We need to be careful,
The president could step in though if he wants.
Yes, correct. Look, I think that the president should reach across to every one of these families who have lost their children. It is awful. There are a lot of names that are not being spoken tonight that have also been lost.
Knowing Joe Biden, I would think that and knowing what's happened to his personal family, I would think more than anybody that he would recognize that this guy
is a phone call or something.
Yeah, or just in pain.
Okay. All right. Well, as Steve Nakui was yelling at the president last night in the House chamber, there was also this earlier in the day.
Oh, come on. We're in a house of God. First, simmer down. Commissioner Kavanaugh and Chief Hodgins for that recognition.
That right there, of course, the New York Attorney General Letitia James getting shouted down by New York City firefighters. They were reacting to the fine of over $450 million imposed on Donald Trump in his civil fraud trial. All right, you take any issue with that?
On which side?
On the firefighters having their voices heard and shouting her down.
They have no decorum, as my mother would say, and they're free to use their voices. But I think her reaction, because they were in the house of the Lord, was appropriate. I mean, she had a lot of firefighter support. She had an incident when her mom passed away. The firefighters tried to save her mom, and they prayed with her over her mother, and she reminded them of that. But again, this country is just so angry. We're so divided that people are yelling and screaming because they're frustrated. They don't like their life or the country, where the country is going. And you're going to get that. I've noticed it more and more. The crime, unsolicited it makes no sense that crimes on the street in New York and D.C. People are just angry. We're a very angry country. So I don't have a problem with their protesting. I thought it was inappropriate, but it comes with the territory.
I think what's really interesting to me about this story is that there is this vociferous support for Trump among a sizable portion of union members, including firefighters and policemen. The Teamsters, for the first time since 2004, donated to a Republican campaign, to the Trump campaign. This stuff the dynamics are changing, and there's a rift between the leadership of the unions, who are pretty hardcore Biden supporters, and the members who are demanding that the unions refrain from supporting one candidate over the other.
Just with Trump as the Republican candidate. Like, I think he definitely understands that base of the unions, which is interesting. And this is not a political statement, but Biden was the union guy.
Yeah,
right?
Had Sean Fain, the head of the UAW, in the box last night.
But it's just interesting. Trump gets into that group of people, which is what is his base.
But this is the problem. The Republicans defend the firefighters and the police unions and not the teachers unions, and Democrats defend the teachers unions. And in general, we just need our police, our firefighters, and our teachers to all do their job well.
All right. What do you mean do their job well?
This is the thing, is like some of the unions, they cover up heinous behavior.
Got it.
So it's a problem. We need some reform.
All right, still ahead here on The Hill, the top health official in the state of Florida going against the recommendations of the CDC when it comes to measles. Why is the Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo, recommending that parents and not health officials make the call? Is it the right move? He joins us live on the other side of the break. Plus, the Pentagon is now pushing back about claims that the government is in possession of extraterrestrial materials. What is the Pentagon saying, and how two skeptics are responding? Ross Coulthart, Bryce Zabel, when The Hill on NewsNation returns. Stay with us.
This year, Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs on the market to treat everything from heart disease to arthritis. It's now time to go further and give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for 500 different drugs over the next decade. It will not only save lives, it will save taxpayers another $200 billion.
All right, welcome back. President Biden last night, of course, State of the Union address, speaking about health care. But did you see this headline earlier today? A new report out in the Wall Street Journal looking at surprising new healthcare costs. Check this out. Your doctor replied to your email. That'll cost $25. Doctors say it's only fair since they are spending time on the messages and saving you a trip to the office. Scott, billable hours, lawyers, this is a thing. You respond to the email, charge a lot of money, more than $25. I bet you that. Yeah, do you take issue with this?
Well, I mean, this is a medical and doctor issue. Don't bring the lawyers in. All righty. Listen, time is a value. Time is how we stock and trade for doctors and lawyers. But I will say this, charging $25 for an email that you're just responding to versus doing research and coming up with a point-by-point response, I could see that the latter being billed, but just general responses off the top of your head, there's really no basis for that, for lawyers or doctors, in my opinion.
I wish Mick was on the show as an OMB person, because I'm sure they're billing it to Medicare or Medicaid.
One way or another.
Oh, interesting.
Good point.
See, this is why I'm Kaiser.
Or insured.
Kaiser is all included. We really, I know people, they want their own doctor or the like, but it is just such a desperate need for healthcare reform and for people to just get what they need.
Yeah, most people aren't even getting any kind of email.
Right.
Yeah.
For a doctor.
Fair point.
I mean, that sounds good to them.
Meantime, tonight, outbreak of measles is confirmed in 16 states with more than 40 cases. The largest outbreak so far this year in Florida, 10 reported cases there. It happened last month. Measles is one of the most contagious diseases in the world, killing more than 130,000 people in 2022, most of them kids. But consider this headline. Florida GOP senators defend DeSantis, Surgeon General, amid measles outbreak. Now, the CDC recommends that unvaccinated children who are exposed stay at home for up to 3 weeks. But Florida's Surgeon General says that doesn't need to be the case due to the burden that places on families, along with, he says, the high immunity rate in that area. The Surgeon General in the state of Florida is Dr. Joseph Ladapo, and he joins us now. Doctor, thank you for being with us here on the Hill. Appreciate the time, sir. Explain your thinking to us.
Well, we explained it pretty clearly in the letter, and what we've been thinking about in Florida when it comes to public health is just being balanced. You know, you look at how the public health community overreacted during COVID. If a kid had COVID in the classroom, everyone had to go home and stay home for a bunch of days. Incredibly disruptive. You couldn't run a society that way. In this particular case,
so do you
most
feel
of the kids were immune
from COVID?
So, do I feel vindicated? I don't think about vindication. I just think about doing the right thing. And Florida, Governor DeSantis, me as Surgeon General, we've been doing the right thing. And, you know, and it shows in how people have responded and how people are behaving.
I cut you off there. You're thinking on this?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Sorry. Yeah, so no problem. Yeah, there's a lot of immunity. I mean, you look at the headlines and you'd think the sky was falling. I know that we caused controversy in Florida, but I was taken aback by some of the headlines I saw with these, you know, you'd think the plague was back. And really, what do you have? Most of the kids in school had immunity, had the MMR vaccine. A few kids didn't. Their parents get to make the choice. You know, why do you have to try and force them to stay home for 21 days? That's a long period of time. I mean, you heard no one saying that, you know, that's a really long period of time. What does that mean for the kid? What does that mean for the families? What does that mean for their education? You heard none of that. So in balance, considering those factors, absolutely, it was absolutely the right decision to let parents make the decision. And it's worked out perfectly fine. The sky did not fall.
Here was your predecessor, quote, we have seen an incredible attack on vaccines over the past couple years. We're seeing parents who are not getting their children vaccinated, parents who believe that getting the vaccine, for example, will actually cause measles when it doesn't. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz represents the area west of Miami where this outbreak or the most reported cases happened in the schools, in that specific school, and here's what she said.
I want to make clear today that our state leaders are failing us on this front. My guests can speak for themselves, but from where I stand, Surgeon General Ladapo needs to go.
What would you respond to with your, I see you laughing, hear you laughing. What would your response be?
I think it's so ridiculous. I mean, vaccines are another medication, and people get to make decisions about the medications they put in their bodies and they put in the bodies of their children. What's really sad about this is that there's so much focus on just this particular aspect of health. There's so much more that we ought to be thinking about if we care about health. We ought to be thinking about the food that people put in their bodies, all the toxins that unfortunately make their way into our food system and into people's bodies and affect us negatively. Sperm counts dropping, obesity, immunity problems actually from some of the plastics that enter people's bodies from what they drink from or eat from. I mean, if you care about health, those are the big issues, not a few dozen families who choose not to accept the vaccine. It's just the whole thing's ridiculous, and I hope more Americans realize that.
Doctor, some might wonder if you are anti-vaccine. Are you?
I think people can call me pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine. I don't care. I am pro-health, and I am pro the right of individuals to make choices about what they put in their bodies. That is a right from God. It's a sovereign right, and that will never change. And that is, by the way, the right decision.
Dr. Ladapo, we have to leave it there. Again, appreciate the time. Thanks for being with us here on the Hill.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, have a good one.
So can I ask a question? Mm-hmm. So I know when I went to school, I had to get like X amount of vaccines. So is that what? and I guess I'm confused here, is that you don't have to have a measles vaccine to go to high school now? Or
there are certain vaccines in the state of Florida, because I know this because I had kids that went to school in the public school system not too far down the road.
Yeah.
There are certain
vaccines. Here, you have to have a measles vaccine.
I'm sure in a lot of places you do.
Yeah.
What do you make of his response,
Florida?
though? I don't know the specifics right now, but it was a long thing to get checked. But
I mean, I think he's very polished, and probably a lot of people watching him think he sounds very reasonable. The trouble is that the MMR vaccine is not the same as COVID or the flu. It has nearly a 100% effectiveness rate at preventing disease. And so I do think, in general, I agree with him. Parents should have choices, and we should err on the side of that. But to just spread doubt widely and not answer your question about, do you support any vaccines?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be information you would want from the surgeon.
By the way,
Florida.
in the CDC says if you drop below 95% vaccination coverage for measles, it can allow the virus to spread more quickly. The state of Florida right now is 90.6, so well below.
What's bothersome about his presentation is it's family convenience in one bucket, it's measles immunizations in the other bucket, mostly a high level of that. So if I've got a kid that's got measles and I send him to school and he's not vaccinated and there are other kids that aren't vaccinated, then you're going to be spreading the measles disease. If by the way,
and even the kid who is vaccinated can have it if you have someone there.
Governor, good point. Yeah.
My grandmother's sister died of a vaccine preventable disease. And so, statistically it may be small, but we're talking about a young woman's death that was statistically small, and it's someone's family member.
Governor DeSantis tweeting out moments ago, Florida Surgeon General, who we just interviewed, provided balanced evidence-based guidance, and the usual suspects responded with hysteria and fear-mongering. Good job, Dr. Lapido. If you're wondering where Ron DeSantis comes down on the issue, there he is. All right. Still to come here from the Hill. What the Pentagon is saying about UFO claims. The top reporters who have been covering this for years join us on the other side of the break. The Pentagon today came out with some pretty big doubts, or at least wants you to doubt, about the relevance of UAPs. Should you? We'll talk to two of the reporters who know this story best. Plus, did you know you lose another hour of sleep this weekend? Great. Why some in Congress are saying enough is enough and what they are trying to do about it. You're watching The Hill. Claims made by David Grush, the career intelligence official who told NewsNation in an exclusive interview last year that, as he claims, the U.S. government has secretly been in possession of non-human spacecraft or non-human materials. But today, the Pentagon's report shut those claims down. Here was the press secretary, Pat Ryder, earlier today.
So what we found is that claims of hidden programs are largely the result of circular reporting by a small group, repeating what they heard from others, and that many people have sincerely misinterpreted real events or mistaken sensitive U.S. programs as UAP or being extraterrestrial exploitation.
All right, joining us now, NewsNation special correspondent Ross Coulthart and investigative journalist Bryce Zabel. Ross, Bryce, hello to you both. Come on in. Ross, we'll start with you. Pentagon says, you know what? You don't, nothing there.
Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? Look, the simple fact is, the simple fact is, I've been talking extensively to people inside that legacy crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, and as confronting as it may sound to this audience, it really is the case that there is a covert program that's been in operation now for decades. It's been kept secret by a very small cadre of people within the Pentagon and the intelligence community. And the big question to me really is, was Arrow misled? Was the Pentagon's UFO body misled? Or did it not have the power to properly investigate? Because I don't think it did. It certainly didn't go and kick the door in Area 51. It didn't go and look inside the caves of Groom Lake. There's been no active, proactive effort to get out into the field. As far as I can see, all they've done is picked up a phone and politely asked the bosses of Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, I say, guys, do you have a flying saucer in your basement? Oh, you don't. Terribly sorry to trouble you. We'll move on. It's not good enough, and nobody's buying it.
Bryce, here was part of the report that caught my attention, and
Sure.
it led to a lot of questions. It's lengthy. Stick with me. It says Arrow, the body that Ross talks about, assesses that all of the named and described alleged hidden UAP reverse engineering programs provided by interviewees either do not exist, are misidentified authentic national security programs that are not related to extraterrestrial technology exploitation, or resolve to a disestablished program. What does that mean when they're talking about a disestablished program or a misidentified national security program?
Well, the interesting thing is if you actually read the 60 pages, and I doubt very many people have so far today, and we're probably doing what we're doing based on the executive summary, but by disestablished programs, they go through at great length to talk about the various investigations the government has had. Most of them have been disestablished over time. I guess we're talking about the ones that Ross is talking about, where you say, okay, something actually is going on, and Ross and I certainly know about people who say that they either worked on those programs or know very much about them. But I think the really interesting thing about this is the report, as I read it, says over and over, basically, as you put it, nothing to see here. But the interesting thing is, in going to the great lengths that it goes to say so many of these things are easily explained, is hardly news. Ross and I would agree with that 100%. These things are the kind of things that have been explained over and over. It's the 2 to 3% that haven't been explained historically through all the programs they've talked about. Those are the ones where they should be looking into those cases, because those are people that have seen craft. These are commercial pilots, military pilots, police officers, government officials.
Right.
There's a whole lot of things here that they're just saying nothing to see here, and they're tarnishing the whole group of witnesses on this.
Hey, Ross, what should Congress do next? Because they've been getting briefings, classified briefings. There's talk of hearings. We've obviously seen one already with David Grush. If a member of Congress called you up and said, hey, Ross, what do we need to do next after this? What would you tell them?
I think it's important, it's imperative that they have a public hearing where witnesses are allowed to be called without fear of repression, without fear of intimidation and bullying. There are witnesses who've spoken confidentially to Congress, and they didn't speak to Arrow. That's why this is a joke. Nobody trusted Arrow in the first place. Why on earth would you put the fox in charge of the henhouse? If the Pentagon has been involved in a cover-up, as is suspected to be the case, why on earth put the Pentagon in charge of investigating it? So what needs to happen is a proper public inquiry. And I'm talking to congressional representatives and senators who are determined to make that happen.
All right, Ross, Bryce, we could talk about this all day, but running up against time here. Got to run. I know we'll talk to you both again soon. Bryce, Ross, thanks so much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
You got it. Congress is going to keep asking questions here. This ain't the end of it.
Say something.
Yeah.
The federal government is set up for those on the panel that have security clearances and passcodes and everything else, and I do, that it's set up so not one person in the entire country, including the President of the United States, knows all the programs in our federal government.
What do you mean by that?
So everyone has a read into different programs. So you have a certain clearance, and then you get read into certain programs. Not even the President of the United States is read into every program.
So if you drew all the circles on a map, there's not one person in which the circles all totally overlap.
Correct.
And that's on purpose.
Of course, for national security. So first of all, if people are working on these programs, which I think would be classified, I'm sure, as a national security concern, that they probably have absolutely no reason talking about it.
So you think there's...
Of course there's something going on.
Okay.
Should they be talking about it? No.
Right. Okay. All right. By the way, this feels foreign just about every time it happens. Clocks for most of the nation will spring forward by 1 hour on Sunday, giving us longer and sunnier evenings. But there's a huge debate over whether the U.S. should ditch this practice altogether. Keep in mind, Mexico got rid of daylight savings time 2 years ago. President Obrador even claiming that the clock changes led to health issues, educational problems, and other drawbacks. I hope you all get some good sleep this weekend.
We're losing that.
Well, we're not going to get it. I said, I hope you get it. What a crazy week
I
in
think
politics.
we ought to just have time fall back twice a year.
Every single time.
By the way, my Jewish colleague is like, daylight savings hates Jewish people because with Shabbat, like you lose
you lose a little bit of time. All right. Other side of the break, Leland Vitter joins us. You're still watching The Hill here on NewsNation.
NewsNation Monday, a one-of-a-kind conversation. Chris Cuomo, Tucker Carlson.
Whether you like it or not, you wind up playing the game.
NewsNation Monday at 8 Eastern, only on America's fastest-growing cable news network.
To reach adulthood. That's why vaccines matter so much. For 40 years, Rotary and partners have delivered vaccines globally. Like here and even here, in your neighborhood and around the world. Rotary is ensuring children grow up safe from preventable diseases.
This message is brought to you by the Armed Forces Vacation Club, a free membership travel hub for active duty military and veterans. The club provides a well-deserved escape during challenging times or post-deployments, or for cherished family moments. This exclusive travel club grants access to discounted 7-night resorts and savings on over 600,000 hotels, rental cars, and more. Discover the world for free at afvclub.com.
The IRS is urging people to beware of ads that promise big money by claiming the Employee Retention Tax Credit. This is a real tax credit that helps businesses that were affected by the pandemic, but scammers are telling people they qualify when they don't. The scammer takes a fee and your personal information. If you're not eligible for the credit, getting conned by this could cost you a lot. The IRS doesn't want that to happen to you, so check the official information at irs.gov/ERC.
Get fact-based, unbiased news coverage 24/7 on the NewsNation app or on Alexa, say, Play NewsNation.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it. Unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
I just got a text asking me to approve a bank transfer I didn't make. I bet you get messages like this too. So much of our lives are online today, from email to banking and everything in between. To make sure my information was protected, I checked out CISA's Secure Our World website for simple steps to stay safe online. Now I know how to protect myself from scammers, and you can learn too. Go to CISA at cisa.gov/Secure Our World.
This is an important message from the Mine Safety and Health Administration. Belt conveyors can be dangerous to miners working on or around them. Remember, always install proper guarding to prevent contact between miners and moving conveyor parts. Before working on a conveyor, disconnect the power and follow lockout, tagout procedures. These simple steps can make a difference in keeping miners safe. Take time, save lives. For more resources, visit MSHA.gov.
All right, welcome back to The Hill. So could there be a third-party presidential candidate in this year's election? Maybe multiple. No Labels, the political organization behind the movement, thinks so. Today, the group voted to have a candidate, a presidential ticket, essentially going forward. Leland Vitter, host of On Balance. I think they're going to vote on who's at the top of the ticket next month, end of next month or something like that.
Good luck with that.
Is this going to move the needle? You're bearish?
It's called No Labels. Some call it No Chance. But I want to be fair about this. I think there is a chance, okay?
A chance for what?
There is a chance that whoever they pick, okay, despite the fact that everybody who they've approached has already said no, so they're going to draft somebody. But let's just say, okay, there is a chance. And by that I mean there's probably at the same chance that those aliens you were talking about last block are real.
So 1%. I think 1% on aliens would be.
It's not 1% on aliens, and it's not 1% on no labels. Look, there is an enormous desire by Americans to have different options. We know that. You and I have felt that. We've talked about
RFK is pulling at 10 to 15%.
Right. RFK is pulling 10, 15 back. 70% of Americans say they want somebody other than Biden and Trump, another choice. What I think is fascinating is how much this is a vanity project for a bunch of billionaires who really enjoy talking about this at cocktail parties. And there's a bunch of political consultants who love selling billionaires the idea that they can change the political system. Good luck.
Good luck. What do you got coming up tonight?
Oh, we got lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of stuff. We're going to be talking about the protests from last night. Interestingly enough, we'll talk about the body language of Katie Britt, White House economic advisor, is with us.